Hello, in this video I'll be showing you how I edited this natural light photo when it comes to Photoshop. And in the previous video I think I used Capture One, and most of you don't have Capture One, so we are going to be doing this entirely in Photoshop. And if I told you to download the photo to follow along with this video, simply check the link in the description of this video. So I'm just going to come and I import the raw image in Photoshop, and as usual it is going to automatically open up the camera raw filter when it comes to Photoshop. So this is going to be a slightly long tutorial, so stick around and you're going to be learning and benefiting from this video. So just want to learn how you can easily edit and color grade your natural light photos, and how we are going to be doing dodging and burning and everything you need to know about editing photos in Photoshop. So you can see this for a second using the Canon 6D. So the very first thing I have to correct is the lighting and contrast issues. So I'm just going to come and I first of all play around with the highlights and reduce the highlights of the image, and also drop down the whites to recover some detail, especially in the background. So just going to come and take the blacks down and add contrast to the image. And by just doing that, you can see what we have in this case. Then after that, you can see it is slightly leaning on a cool side. So I'll come to the temperature and simply take up the temperature and warm up the image to around 5000. I prefer my images warm because they are a little bit easy to color grade when they are warm. So after doing that, I'm just going to come and open up the shadows of the image slightly to around 19. So I'll just add a little bit more of the contrast. And by just doing that, you can see before, and after. Then for this, we are simply going to come to our masking section rather to mask the background. So I'm just going to come to the masking right here, and you can see if at all you have a latest version of Camera Raw, you can easily select the background. So I'm just going to come right here and I select the background of this very image. So what we're going to be doing for this case, we just want to remove the yellow tones in the background. So I'm just going to come to, you can even hide the mask if at all you don't want it to distract you. So what we're going to do, we're just going to come right to the adjustments right here and desaturate the image by removing or taking out the saturation of the image. And after taking the saturation out, we're just going to come to where you see temperature, and you're going to cool down the background just like that, so that the model can really stand out in this case. So after you have done that, we are going to open the image in Photoshop. So in order to open the image in Photoshop, we are simply going to come right here and click on open in order to open the photo in Photoshop. So you can see right now we are in Photoshop, and the very first thing we want to do is first of all cropping the image. So in order to crop the image in Photoshop, we are simply going to come and get the crop tool and make sure it is set to a ratio of 45 or 8:10. And after doing that, just come and click in the image and you can move the crop options. So I'm just going to crop this in a little bit just like that, and also crop this in slightly and move this slightly up. So I'm just going to hit enter or return in order to approve the crop settings. So for this, you're just going to be doing the frequency separation, and for a tutorial not be a long one, I'm just going to come to my actions and I'll simply play my 16-bit frequency separation action. You can see that we're editing a 16-bit image, but if at all you have 8-bit images, I have actions that you can purchase or buy, and you're going to be quickening or making your retouching process faster when it comes to Photoshop. So I'll play my 16-bit frequency separation action and click on the image, take the radius down and start blurring out the textures from the skin. So I'll just take this higher to around, I think 6. That is when the details are just starting to disappear from this kind of image. I'll click on OK, and the action is done creating for me the frequency separation layers. So with frequency separation, we are simply going to come and with the low frequency layer selected, come to the brushes, right click and get the mixer brush tool. And after selecting the mixer brush tool, you are simply going to come and make sure clean brush is selected. And the second option that says clean brush after each stroke is also selected. With weight of 9, load 75, mix 90, flat 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. And you're just going to start evening out the skin tones by brushing. So how to even out, don't zoom all the way in, because when you do this you can't see the uneven skin tone transitions. And to see the image better, you can see the high frequency layer has been hidden. So just want to brush over the skin area. So I'm just going to increase on the size of the brush slightly and start blending the transitions on her face, just like that. So you're basically blending the tones or the skin tones of our subject's face. So I'm just going to blend. So you left click and blend a given color, and after blending that color you release the left click button and left click once again to blend on a brand new color. And by the way, if your mixer brush tool is showing a plus icon, make sure you press the caps lock key to deactivate it, and the brush is going to show the default shape for it. So I'll increase on the size and blend. So you can see we blend according to how the area is shaped or how the skin is flowing on a given area. So blend colors that are looking alike to keep and maintain the original details in the skin. So I'm just going to paint just like that, and by just doing this you can see the effect in real time, and the skin is getting to look a little bit smooth. So I'm just going to paint, come right here, mix the highlights alone, midtones alone, and also the shadows alone. Make sure you follow the patterns or how skin is flowing on a given area so that you can keep and maintain the original details in the skin area. You can see nose is flowing from up to down. That is why when I'm painting on the nose area, I'm moving the brush in this up and down direction. So basically, mixer brush is very easy to master if at all you do practice. Remember, skin retouching or editing photos takes so much time and practice, and the faster you practice or the more you practice, the faster you're going to be better at editing. So I'm just going to do this, and by just doing this you can see the skin is getting smooth. So when you turn on the texture layer, you can see the skin has been smoothened, but we are still maintaining the original skin details in the model's skin. So just come and turn this off, and also mix the hand, because the hand also has skin. Remember, we are doing skin retouching, or we are trying to smoothen the skin using a technique known as frequency separation. So just paint right on the hand area or on the arm, whatever you prefer to call it. So I'll just paint and even out each and every area that has skin tones. So right now we are done blending. So just come and turn this back on. You can see the before, after. So when you feel like you did not paint a given area when the texture layer was turned off, you can as well work with it, but make sure sample all layers is not turned on. So I'll just paint just like that. And I feel like this is okay and this is perfect for me. So this is a before, after. So after doing that, you can even incorporate a second technique, that is using the lasso tool technique to perfect or fine tune the image. So just come and get the lasso tool. Make sure new selection mode is selected, the first option. With the feathering of 20 pixels, make sure you type in 20, because we want the edges of the selection to be as smooth as possible. So we're just going to come and draw a shape. So to draw, you left click and hold down, and you draw a shape depending on how the skin is flowing on a given area. Come to filter, blur, come to Gaussian blur. This time around the texture layer is visible or turned on. So for the radius that you had initially before, just multiply that radius by 3. So 6 times 3 is 18. Just type in the value 18. I'll just click OK. Or you can manually move the slider if at all you are not confident with the technique we have just used. So come back to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and click on OK. So when you feel like the effect is too much on a given area, this is what you have to do. Come to filter and apply your Gaussian blur in that area, and just come on the selection, right click on the selection and come to fade Gaussian blur, and you can reduce on the effect or the Gaussian blur radius. So that is what you have to do. So I'm just going to come to the nose area. So when it comes to the nose area, only apply it on the dark areas of the nose. Don't apply it on the overall nose, because it is going to make the nose look big and flat. So keep away from selecting the eyebrows, the hair, or even some of the edges and the clothing. So apply the Gaussian black, click OK. So right now we only use that technique for only the face area. So it is time to remove the pimples or blemishes. Select the high frequency layer and come and get the clone stamp tool. You can zoom in by using Ctrl plus on the keyboard, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard. So we just want to remove the pimples and some of the smile lines in this image. So reduce on the size of the clone stamp tool. Hold down the option key on the keyboard. Remember we have selected the high frequency layer or the texture layer. So to remove a pimple, hold down the option key on the keyboard and left click on a clean area that is nearby the pimple or the blemish that we want to remove. Alternate or hold down the option key if at all you are using Mac. Then left click on a clean area near the blemish. Then release the alternate key on the keyboard, or you can release the option key on the keyboard and left click once again over the pimple or over the blemish, and you can eliminate it. So you have to keep on sampling by holding down the alternate depending on where the pimple is, because these pimples are located in areas that are containing different colors or different skin tones. So you have to keep on sampling from different areas by holding down the option key on the keyboard or by holding down the alternate key on the keyboard. So I'm just going to remove. So to remove this line, we hold down and copy and drag over that line to get rid of it quickly. So I'm just going to be doing this. So you have to zoom in and out to see or identify the areas that have or contain these skin imperfections or the blemishes. And if at all you're benefiting from this video, I request that you hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if at all you are watching and you are not a subscribe, because you are benefiting from this kind of video. So I'm just going to do this over and over again. So I'm just going to remove all these imperfections from her face. So remember, the removal of blemishes takes a long time, and the better you remove the blemishes, the better the retouched image is going to turn out to be or to look. So command minus to zoom out. So right now we are done removing the pimples or blemishes, and you can see the before after. So after removing the pimples or blemishes, the next step is simply going to be the color grading process. So in order to color grade, we are simply going to first of all create a stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E. Shift Option Command E for Mac. Then for Windows is Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. So after doing that, we're just going to come and create an empty layer by clicking on the new layer icon, and simply come and change the blend mode from normal, change it all the way down to color. Then you're going to come to the brushes, right click and get the brush tool, and make sure the settings, the hardness set to 0 and soft round brush is selected. The blend mode is normal. Opacity, we are going to be using 100%, flow 100%, and we just want to sample a color on the skin. So zoom in by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus, and we're going to sample a color on the skin. So I'm just going to sample that color about there. I think that color is okay. So you have to choose a warm color because it is very easy to correct later on. And after sampling that color, you're just going to come back to the empty layer, come to select and come to subject, so that Photoshop can automatically detect or select the subject for us. Then after selecting the subject, come back to the empty layer that we created and start painting over the skin. So I'm just going to paint over her skin just like that. So just paint on the skin and don't paint on the outfit. But if at all you create or make an error, you can easily correct that, and I'll show you how you can easily rectify or correct that error if at all you make one during this very process. So I'm just going to paint just on the skin, and you can see what we have in this case. So don't mind if at all the effect is looking a little bit overdone, because we can always come back and we correct that. So I'm just going to use Command minus to zoom out, Command plus to zoom in, and identify each and every area that contains or has skin or skin tones. So don't paint on the makeup, because sometimes the makeup artists don't want you to distort their creation. So I'm just going to paint just over that area slightly. Come to the head area and just paint right there. I feel like that is okay. And come this other side and also paint. So you can see during the painting process, we accidentally painted in the eyebrows or some areas. So in order to correct or rectify that, we are simply going to come and we rectify or correct those particular areas. So I'm just going to paint in those areas. So to correct or rectify those particular areas, just get the eraser tool and make sure the mode is set to brush, opacity in the flat 100%. With this layer still selected, you can zoom in and you correct the areas. For example, right here in the nostril, you can erase that and erase it from this area of her eyebrows, just like that. And you can even erase it from, by the way, make sure the hardness of the brush is set to 0 and it is a soft round brush. So you can even erase it from those particular areas that you wanted to, or you did not want paint in the first place. So you can see just right here below her chin, we have some colors. So to get the brush, once again, you can press B and paint on the areas that you hadn't painted initially. For the eraser, the shortcut is E. E for the eraser, B for the brush. So I'll just paint just like that. So after that, press Ctrl D, or you can use Command D to deselect or to remove the active selection. So after doing this, we're just going to come and we correct the image. You can see it has a lot of red tones going around the place. So just come and first of all reduce on the opacity so that the color can look a little bit better and a little bit more natural. So just come and create a color balance adjustment layer, and with this you can simply come and add a little bit of the greens to the midtones. I feel like around 6 is okay. Then you're going to come and create one for the highlights. And for the highlights, let me see if at all you can add a little bit of the cyans, just like that. And you're going to add tiny bit of greens, just like that. So you can see that we are starting to get back the skin tone that it was meant to be. So you're just going to come back to the midtones and simply add a tiny bit of yellows and play around with the cyan slider. I feel like -4 is okay. So you can see before, after, the reds have been totally eliminated, but this doesn't look a little bit more natural. So you're just going to come and add a levels adjustment layer and add more contrast to the image to around that. I feel like that has added more contrast to the image, but now it looks oversaturated. So just going to come and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Come to master and simply select the reds, and you're going to come to the lightness and slightly reduce on the lightness. And you can see by taking down the lightness, you can see that the skin tends to look a little bit more on the natural end, and the orange tones have been slightly eliminated. Then next, we just want to come and create another adjustment layer, which is the black and white adjustment layer. Come and make sure we have black and white. Come the blend mode and change it to multiply, and come the opacity and reduce on the opacity, and this is going to add a tiny bit of contrast to the photo or to the image. So right now you can see before and after. The image has been cooled down. So we're going to add another adjustment layer, which is the selective color, to play around with the blacks in the image. So just come and target the blacks and come the cyans and just take up the cyan slider to around, we're just going to use around 10, and you can even play around with the yellows to see what works best for us. So I'm just going to cool down the image to have a more deeper color of the blacks. Then next we are going to come and play around with the whites in the image, especially in the background. So create another adjustment layer of selective color, and this time around target the whites, and come to where you see the yellow slider, and you can play around with the yellow slider to your taste or to your liking. So I'm just going to play around with this, and you can even play around with the cyans to have this kind of cinematic vibe going all over the whites of the image. So you can see right now, this is where we are right now with the image. So next, we just want to add a little bit of dodging and burning to the image to create shape or dimension to the image. So let me just first of all group the color grading and put it in a group. So you can see before and after for just the color grading in Photoshop. Just look at how amazing the image has gotten to look or to be. So after we have done this, the next thing is going to be simply coming and, like I said, dodging and burning to enhance the shape or dimension in this photo. So in order to enhance the shape or dimension to this image, we are going to come and create a curves adjustment layers, two curves adjustment layers, and click in the middle and brighten. That is for the dodging. Press Ctrl I to invert the color or the effect. Name that to dodge. Remember, when we are brightening, we dodge, and when we are darkening, we burn. So I'm just going to do the same for the darkening curves, and click in the middle, turn it down, and press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I, and you're going to name that to burn. And after creating that, just select the layer mask and come the brushes, get the brush tool, and make sure the opacity this time around is set around 9 or 10%. Make sure you have black and white on these two color swatches. So if at all you have any other random colors apart from black and white, you can simply press D on the keyboard, or you simply left click on the tiny swatches. So with white as the foreground color, remember the brush is a soft round brush. So just going to first of all dodge the highlights or enhance the highlights. So I'm just going to use the brush that is white and paint on what I feel is, or what I feel are the highlights of this very portrait. Reduce on the size and also paint on the nose area, just like that. And come to the chin area and also dodge the chin area. You can even dodge that area. So I'm just going to be doing all this, reduce on the size, and you can even dodge some parts of the lips. So for the burning, select the burn layer. So make sure you're painting on the layer mask and zoom out slightly and burn the shadows or the areas that you felt had shadows. I'm just going to burn slightly on the cheek area and burn slightly on the nose area to enhance the original shadows in the image. So I'll just dodge some part of the highlights on the eye shadow just right there. And you can see right now we have finished the dodging and burning process, but make sure you fade the effect into the image. Just come to the properties of the masks and simply come, make sure the mask is selected, and just feather that in to blend well or better into the image. Do the same for the burning so that the effect can blend better. So if at all an effect is too much, you can always come the opacity, for example, for the dodge, and reduce on the effect or the opacity. So let's put these two in a group by selecting both and pressing Ctrl G, or you can use Command G on the keyboard, and you can rename these two dodging and burning. And this is for our color grade. So you can see before and after for the dodging and burning, we have added shape or dimension to the image or to the photo, but we still want to enhance the image. So in order to enhance the photo, we are simply going to come to adjustments and create a curves adjustment layer to add glow or shine to the skin. So just come and select the curves and drag this up until when you feel like the image is bright enough, especially in the highlight area. Then you're going to double click on the layer to open up the layer style dialog box. Then come to where you see underlying layer. Make sure the blend if is set to gray. Underlying layer, and left click and drag these pointers until when you feel like only the highlights in the image are being affected, hold down the option key on the keyboard, or you can hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and left click on one pointer and split this for effect to blend well or better into the skin. Click OK, select the layer mask and press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard. Make sure the brush is selected, opacity and the flat 100%. You are simply going to increase on the size of the brush and just paint on the highlights or the areas we want to enhance, especially on the highlight of the nose and some parts of the lips, to make the image look a little bit better. So I'm just going to undo that, especially on the skin area. So I've painted on the skin and the effect is now looking a little bit too much. So I'll just reduce the effect or the opacity to around 70 before, after. So this has made the image look better now. So let's do a little bit of eye whitening. Create a hue and saturation adjustment layer and simply come to the effects measure mask is selected and take the saturation all the way down to around negative 78 or 79. Press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect. You can now zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus. Reduce on the size of the brush and make sure white is the foreground color, and simply paint in the white area of the eye. And by just doing this, you can see the eyes are going to be whitened, or we are going to be able to make the eyes look white. So you can see what we have right now. Command minus to zoom out. So at this point, you can see that we have been able to transform this image from looking like this to looking like this in just Photoshop. So you can see how beautiful the image has turned out to be or to look. So one final adjustment, you can simply create a stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E, Shift Alternate Control E for Windows, and you're just going to come and simply get the spot healing brush tool and do a little bit of corrections, especially in the background right there. I'm just going to paint on that line in the background to eliminate it, and some parts right there to get rid of them in the background. Control minus or Command minus to zoom out. So this is what we have been able to achieve in just Photoshop regarding skin retouching and color grading a natural light kind of portrait. So let's say overall before and after for this very image. This is the image before, after, before, after, before, and the after. So after doing this, let's save the image. Simply come to File, Export, and come to Export As, and it's going to open up the Export As dialog box when it comes to Photoshop. Make sure the format is set to JPEG, quality to the maximum, which is 7 for this case. Make sure the resample is set to bicubic sharper, and simply make sure convert sRGB and also embed color profile are checked, so that the photo doesn't change in color when we post or when we print it out. Just come and click on Export, and it's going to open up where you want to save the image, and simply click on Save. So this is how you can easily edit and color grade in just Photoshop. And if at all you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe if at all you have been watching and you are not a subscriber to this channel. Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in more videos on this channel. Don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.